Hey guys, I want to talk today about when to get political. When to get political. And if you stay tuned at the end of today's mission brief, I'm going to answer that question directly and tell you exactly when you should get political. But first, I want to ask what makes a topic political? What is it that makes something political? Now, one thing we hear a lot in churches, I've heard from Christians, is don't get too political, or Men's Alliance is getting too political. So I want to talk about that. Really, what does that mean? What is it that makes something political? So, if you're wondering the definition, I got to start with that. We're going to look it up here. The definition of political means relating to the government or the public affairs of a country. So anything that relates to the affairs of the country that you live in is political. So basically, if any topic, from jaywalking to taxes to passing a stop school bus, when something elevates to the level of being important to the country, that's when it has just become political. So literally um, any topic that you can possibly think of can become political when it arises to the level of the affairs of the government or the country. So, when we say don't get political, what we're really saying is don't talk about the super important issues that are huge in our country. Because that's what something is that's political. If something is political, it's a huge issue important to the country. So think about that. As Christians, when you say don't get political, what you're saying is don't discuss the really important topics. That's crazy. Anything that has risen to the level of being important to the country is something really important, and that's something we should absolutely be discussing. So we cannot, as Christians, allow someone to take a super important moral topic, a moral issue, elevate it to the national level, and then apply the political label to it and tell us now you can't talk about it. It's political. Okay. So I think we've answered that. What does it mean to be political? It means something is on the level of national importance. That's what makes something political. And that's the difference between an issue and a political issue, is its level of importance to the nation. So I think I've covered that. I feel like I just said it 5 times. So with that in mind, I want to read you guys something. Let's read a little bit of some verses here from the Old Testament. Jeremiah 19:5. Listen to this. They built the high places of Baal in order to burn their sons in the fire as whole burnt offerings to Baal. Here's another verse. Here's Deuteronomy 12:31. They do for their gods every detestable thing that Jehovah hates, even burning their sons and their daughters in the fire to their gods. And here's one more from 2 Kings 23:10. It says, he also made unfit for worship Topheth, which is in the valley of the sons of Hinnom, so that no one could make his son or his daughter pass through the fire to Molech. So a Topheth is a place for child sacrifice. And this is talking about how King Josiah destroyed that evil place. He made it unfit for worship so that no one could go there and burn his son or daughter to the god Molech. So these are some demons, Baal and Molech. In the Old Testament, they're referred to as gods with a small g. These are demons that people were worshiping. And you can Google them and look them up. Molech has the head of a cow and the body of a man, and his arms are outstretched. He was made of metal. and he was hollow, and they would build a fire inside of him until his arms heated up red hot, and then they would place the babies in his arms, and they would have to play lots of drums and trumpets to drown out the screaming and crying sounds of the babies. This is what was happening in Canaan with the Canaanites, and this is why God commanded Israel to destroy them. Now I want to read you a little bit of history that is not in the Bible. Okay, so some secular historians, I'm going to read you some writing from 4th century Greek historian named Clitarchus. And here's what Clitarchus wrote in the 4th century about Carthage. Carthage is present-day Tunisia in North Africa. Okay, here's what he says. There stands in their midst a bronze statue of Kronos, its hands extended over a bronze brazier, the flames of which engulf the child. When the flames fall upon the body, the limbs contract, and the open mouth seems almost to be laughing until the contracted body slips quietly into the brazier. Thus, it is that the grin is known as sardonic laughter, since they die laughing. It's disgusting. Kronos was a regional name for the god Baal, the chief of Carthage's gods. Here's another one, a Greek historian, Diodorus Siculus. He wrote less than 100 years after the fall of Carthage. He says, quote, "There was in their city a bronze image of Kronos extending its hands, palms up and sloping toward the ground, so that each of the children, when placed thereon, rolled down and fell into sort of a gaping pit filled with fire." And here's one more that I'll read you from Greek historian Plutarch. "With full knowledge and understanding, they themselves offered up their own children. And those who had no children would buy little ones from poor people and cut their throats as if they were so many lambs or young birds. Meanwhile, the mother stood by without a tear or moan. But should she utter a single moan or let fall a single tear, she had to forfeit the money, and her child was sacrificed nevertheless. And the whole area before the statue was filled with a loud noise of flutes and drums, took the cries of wailing, should not reach the ears of the people." So there you've heard a couple accounts from the Bible and a couple accounts from secular historians about both practices in Canaan and practices in Carthage. Terrible, isn't it? It's terrible. One might say that those issues were so terrible that they had arisen to the national level of Carthage and Canaan, which by definition would make them political topics. The offering of the babies and burning them alive to their gods Baal and Molech. Awful. Now I want to read you some more recent accounts. Michelle Williams, an actress who was receiving a Golden Globe Award, in her acceptance speech from the podium, said her success as an actress would not have been possible without the ability to have an abortion. Of course, she's not going to use the word abortion. Even that word is now not sterile enough. So she says, without a woman's right to choose, her career would not have been so successful. So she's very thankful for her woman's right to choose. Boy, we have really masked the practice in very sterile language and wording. What she is saying in so many words is that she's thankful that she was legally allowed to kill her baby because it would have hindered her career. That is exactly the message she is saying. She's very thankful that she was legally able to kill her baby because it would have hindered and held her back in her career. And when you watch this acceptance speech given to this auditorium, this audience full of actors and actresses, they are applauding, they are crying. You watch this, there's so many people wiping their tears of joy with her that she was able to kill her baby and have a great career. Here is another similar story from comedian actress Cicely Strong. She is an actress in Saturday Night Live. And in 2021, she dressed up as a clown and said, quote, she said, "Here's my truth. I know I wouldn't be a clown on TV here today if it weren't for the abortion that I had." She's very thankful for that abortion, talking about it as a comedian dressed as a clown on Saturday Night Live, saying, "Here's my truth," right? That implies relativism, right? That there are multiple truths. She says, "I know I wouldn't be on TV here today if it weren't for the abortion." Here's yet another one. There is a book now called Shout Your Abortion, a celebration. Wow. They are so proud of their abortion in this book. It is full of stories of pride in their abortions and the celebration of them. From the online magazine called The Nation, an article written where the author writes, "But I am thankful for both of my abortions. I am thankful that I didn't want to be a parent then, so I didn't have to be a parent then." Wow. And lastly, as I discovered from the Planned Parent website, March 10th is National Day of Appreciation for Abortion Providers. So I want you to think about this. We as a society have come a very long way in very short years. When Bill Clinton was president in the late 90s, their slogan for abortion, the Clintons' slogan for abortion in the late 90s, was that abortions should be, quote, legal, safe, and rare. Look it up. That was the slogan of the Democratic Party in the late 90s. Legal, safe, and rare. Let me ask you a question. Why rare? Why would they want them to be rare? Why would they want abortions to be rare? Just a few years ago, in the late 90s, the Clintons knew that abortions were not a good thing. Now, they were in favor of allowing them as a necessary evil, but they wanted to keep them rare. You don't want to keep something rare unless it's not a good thing that you hate to have it happen at all, right? They said legal, safe, and rare was their desire for abortions. Well, here we are, about 30 years later, and we are now no longer saying rare. We are now celebrating them. We are thanking. That article that I read from The Nation, that was a Thanksgiving article. It was saying this year on Thanksgiving, the thing that we are thankful for is that we have the legal permission in this country to kill babies that are going to inconvenience us. Actresses are saying we're so thankful that we've been legally allowed to kill babies that would hold us back in our career. So I guess this makes abortion a political issue, right? Because it's risen to the level of national importance, and that's the definition. That's the legal definition of a political issue. It's important to the nation. So If you're in the group that maybe thinks we shouldn't discuss political issues, that thinks Christians shouldn't get political, that thinks Men's Alliance shouldn't get political, I want to ask you a question. If you were a Canaanite or a Carthaginian, would you be getting political then to stop those practices? If somebody like me spoke up and said we shouldn't be putting our babies in the red hot arms of this statue, we should stop murdering these babies and burning them alive, would you tell me then that I shouldn't get political? I'll tell you what I think those Canaanites and Carthaginians would have said. I think they would have said that they are so thankful that they are able to practice their religion however they see fit, that they don't have to live with the shame and stigma that those like me would attempt to force their views on them. I think those people would say that they were glad that they were able to be parents when they were ready and that they were free to pursue their careers. After all, offering their babies to Molech, that's their choice. It's their choice, and they celebrate that choice. They want us to keep our laws off their kids so that they can practice their religion their way. I'm sure that's what they would say. So if you were a Canaanite or a Carthaginian, would you be willing to get political then? Would you be willing to get political now? We are doing worse. We are celebrating it. We have killed millions and millions of babies in this country. We've killed more babies than every war we've ever fought in combined. It's staggering. Now, I know that there is an argument about, well, what in the case of rape? And I'll just say this. Rape is an awful, terrible thing, but you don't make something better by doing another awful, terrible thing. The rape will not be fixed by aborting the baby. You cannot make the fact that this woman was raped any better by then murdering the baby. Adoption is always the best option. Deliver the baby, carry it to full term, take good care of it while it's in your womb, deliver it, and offer it up for adoption. Many parents are looking to adopt. They want to adopt. We have families that want a baby, and we have moms who don't want a baby. Give the baby to those who want it. Don't kill it. It's that simple. My family, we have adopted twice. I have 2 adopted daughters. Adoption is a beautiful thing. It's a miracle in and of itself. It's a great, great option. We do not have to remain quiet. We do not need to buy into the lie that we should not get political. If I were a Canaanite, I would get political. If I were a Carthaginian, I would be political. And since I'm an American, I will get political because I will talk about the issues that are important at a national level. So to answer our very opening question of when should we get political? Well, the answer is this: when the affairs of a country go against moral law. When the affairs of our country are going against moral law, we must stand up and address them. So that's why this one is so, so important. And we know that it's a very sensitive topic. And if you've had an abortion, we love you and we are here for you. And we want to, put our arms around you and take care of you. And we're not going to judge you. We want to help you and comfort you. We're not here to tell you that you're a bad person. We have all made mistakes, and we shouldn't use that as an excuse to silence others or to not address an important issue. In fact, we are planning to do a podcast that I'm really looking forward to doing. It's going to be helpful to so many about abortion and how it's affected men especially. You forget a lot of times in our society that it takes two people to make a baby. It takes a man and a woman. Abortion is not only a women's issue, it's a human issue because an abortion kills the man's child as much as it kills the woman's child. So we are going to do that. And we're going to hear from some very real stories, some very honest, raw stories. And we're going to talk about some great resources for men who have gone down that path. So, guys, don't let don't let the world silence you. We have every right to talk about issues of national importance. And that's exactly what we should be talking about. So if those are political, if they have that label on them, then so be it. But what we're discussing here is murder. Something is wrong if it intentionally takes the life of an innocent person. It is morally wrong to intentionally take the life of an innocent person. And I want you to think about that. It's morally wrong to intentionally take the life of an innocent person. Abortion intentionally takes the life of an innocent person. Therefore, it is morally wrong. Therefore, as Christians, we should stand up against it. Men, don't be hiding behind the label of, I don't want to get political. That is weak. That is not manly. That is passive. Quite frankly, that is castrated. It is impotent. Be a man of God. Be a warrior. Go against society and culture and stand up for what is right. Be a Shadrach who stood up against his government that told him to bow down to a false god. Today, abortion is a false god. It is being worshipped and celebrated, and it is evil, and we should stand up against it.